So what more can be done to ensure such tragedies aren't repeated? We joined now by the Chairperson of Parliament's Committee on Mineral Resources and Energy, Sahlulele Luzipo. Good morning to you and thanks so much for joining us. Just let's understand if government knows the extent of the problem, number one, of these illegal mines or disused mines as well. Mr. Sahlulele.
Look, unfortunately, it will be difficult. Good morning to you and my dear friend Gareth and the viewership. It is quite a complex matter. That is why we have said in our statement, we welcome the fact that the Premier of Gauteng has also echoed the views that we have said, that in order to deal with the issue of illegal mining in this country, we need to have a comprehensive and an overall strategy that respond in every facet of the activities. And that is the first thing. Whether government understands the magnitude or not, we must continue to call for a comprehensive strategy that addresses this thing. First, how to combat the criminal elements But
that's precisely the point, that we're dealing with symptoms and not necessarily the cause of the problem. So if you do not know the size of the problem, the nature thereof, there hasn't been adequate research or even preventative strategies previously, how then do you deal with it going forward?
No. The question was about government. I'm saying it will be difficult for me sitting as a legislature to say whether government, it is our responsibility to make government understand the magnitude of this problem. And I'm saying, therefore, with the call also that is being made, it now begins to say, yes, they understand the magnitude of this problem. The first thing I think, for example, we must be able to respond to is the fact that when you've got disused and derelict mines, it is a common knowledge we must act within the confines of the law. The law, unfortunately, does not apply retrospectively. Your Mines Act that came to an end, for an example, in 2004, it makes it very difficult that when you bring in your MPRDA, it should apply retrospectively. The MPRDA only started to be effective as early as 2006. And therefore, historically, there has never been a liability and a responsibility on conducting activities of legal mining, which is now the legacy that we are dealing with, which is, therefore, government has made a commitment to close derelict and ownerless mine. In our recommendation, one of the things we raised was that as long as dealing with the derelict and ownerless mine, you are still giving the state-owned company, which is Intec, to close derelict and ownerless mines with a budget of only 143 million rand, which will take us almost 16 years or more to close those derelict and ownerless mines. And therefore we say, find a mechanism that responds to the crisis only. As long as if you are expecting police to combat this, but you don't have a dedicated unit and a dedicated budget that respond to the issue of illegal mining, we must then be able to respond to some of those things, including managing legislation that contradicts each other. So there are recommendations that we have tabled, and not a single party in the National Assembly voted against the report that was tabled. And we hope now Parliament will be able to table in government and say, here are the recommendations. And these recommendations don't only talk to a department, they talk to the overall responsibility that government must be able to look at. And they must then be able to say, yes, we understand you adopted this report, there are these recommendations, here are the challenges that we're facing. But in the meantime, as lawmakers, we've got a duty and a responsibility to continue to make sure that we find solutions.
All right, as an oversight body, as a portfolio committee of the Energy and Mineral Resources, Sahlulele, I understand that these are tedious processes which are necessary. One, the recommendations as you propose going forward. But what happens in the case where there are fatalities that could have been avoided? Because even by the Premier's admission, we are fully aware of the glaring problem of Zama or the illegal mining activities that continues not to pose an environmental hazard, but also threatening lives.
That is why I said, from our own side and our own view, we have brought together, because we understood other mandates don't fall on the regulation of the industry. Can we do that? And we think that there is a lot that has been done to regulate the industry. The problem is that other issues are completely not related, are just acts of criminality that are taking place in the space where mining actually took place. For an example, it will be difficult to say how police must do that. I've just made an example. I said, amongst the recommendation of the three-team committee oversight was that there is a need to have a dedicated unit of police, and that unit must have a specific budget that it will be working on. Obviously, it will require then that there must be a mechanism that is being applied, because any committee of mineral resources and energy cannot then transgress and go to a territory that does not belong to it, which is why now we say all of us, we must own up to that report, because we have agreed that it is the mechanism that must be looked at, including all the areas that the report has considered. They have to be taken in that regard.
And what about the liability on mining companies, albeit that they may have then, extracted the resources and moved on? Is there a rehabilitation fund or a liability on their part to at least make sure that the mines are either closed adequately or handed over to avoid any further fatalities and environmental hazards?
Look, currently, you do have a legislation, which I said is the MPRDA, which is an act of 2004, which became effective in 2006. Amongst other issues, it says that you've got a duty and a responsibility of rehabilitation. That is why when you make an application, for an example, for a mining right, you need three compliance issues. One, it is a mining right. The second one, it is a water use license. The third one is an environmental compliance certificate. Those, they put obligation, including rehabilitation. Unfortunately, the law, like I explained, does not apply retrospectively. Then one of the things we said, there has to be a conscious way that those who have done it previously, they have at least take some degree of commitment and responsibility to put up a rehabilitation fund that will contribute towards the rehabilitation. Yes, we agree previously the Mines Act did not put an obligation on rehabilitation, did not put an obligation on environmental compliance. But we say if there is a mechanism, there must be a way where they also say we want to donate or to contribute towards fund that will deal and expedite the process of rehabilitating the derelict and ownerless mine. That is why they are called derelict, that is why they are called ownerless, because at this stage, there was no law that put an obligation on them to do rehabilitation.